We begin our show today with the war in Ukraine and what President Zelensky is calling a crucial week in the conflict. Russian forces are now focusing their efforts on the eastern part of the country, which came under heavy shelling over the weekend. These new satellite images by U.S. company Maxar are said to show a long Russian military convoy heading toward the eastern Donbas region. That anticipated offensive comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a shakeup at the top of his military command. He's appointing a new general to oversee the war effort. Putin is also expected to host Austria's chancellor today. It's the first in-person meeting with a European leader since the war began. Comes after those alleged war crimes were discovered in Bucha. Speaking on Meet the Press yesterday, Ukraine's foreign minister underscored the importance of this upcoming fight for the East.
It's true to say that Ukraine won the battle for Kyiv. Now another battle is coming, the battle for Donbas. And of course, we are preparing to it, working with our partners to get all necessary weapons. Whatever Russia is planning to do, we have our strategy, and this strategy is based on the assumption that, on the confidence that we will win this war and we will liberate our territories.
NBC News global correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from Lviv in western Ukraine. So, Raf, President Zelensky said this could be an important week for the war, with the battle in the eastern part of Ukraine taking center stage. Over the weekend, we saw the Donbas region come under heavy shelling. So what's the latest coming out of that area, and how prepared is Ukraine for that part of the Russian offensive?
Yeah, Joe, the Russian and Ukrainian governments don't agree on much, but they agree on this. The decisive next phase of the conflict will be in the Donbas region. And all weekend, we have been seeing more and more signs of Russian forces bearing down there. The city of Kyiv already under assault. And as you said, there are now new satellite images showing an 8-mile-long column of Russian tanks and artillery to the east of the city. In the south, Russian forces continue to besiege Mariupol. President Zelensky saying this morning there could be tens of thousands of civilians dead inside that city. Now, Ukraine is sending some of its best forces for this new fight in the east, and they are certainly confident after weeks of victories on the battlefield. But the Ukrainian foreign minister also saying that this will be a very different kind of battle. This will be the sort of pitched conflict that we saw during the Second World War, large groups of tanks and artillery confronting each other on the battlefield. It will be less like the guerrilla warfare we've seen in the suburbs around Kyiv, and Russia will be fighting much closer to its own borders. Its supply lines will be shorter, and there will be fewer opportunities for nimble Ukrainian forces to inflict blows. Joe?
Raf, let's talk about what's happening on the diplomatic front. Austria's chancellor is meeting with President Putin today in Moscow. That's a couple days after he met with President Zelensky in Kyiv. Are we expecting him to play a mediating role in this conflict?
Yeah, that may very well be what's going on here. Karl Nehammer was in Kyiv on Saturday. He met President Zelensky face-to-face. His meeting did not get the kind of attention that Boris Johnson's did. He's not a showman like the British Prime Minister. But it has taken on a new significance this morning as he heads to Moscow for the first face-to-face meeting with the Russian president of any European leader since the war started. Joe, what's interesting about Austria, it is a member of the European Union. It is part of these EU sanctions on Russia, but it is not a member of NATO. It is seen as militarily neutral, and that may allow the Austrian chancellor to play a mediating role. Now, he is keen to stress he is not morally neutral. He has promised that he is going to raise these alleged massacres in Bucha to the face of the Russian president, and he says there needs to be an international investigation and then accountability. Jeff?
Yeah, and Raf, I mean, first and foremost, this war is taking a human toll, but it is also taking an economic one. Yesterday, we had a pretty grim prediction from the World Bank about the hit Ukraine's economy is going to take this year. Real quickly, can you walk us through what they're saying about that?
Yeah, the World Bank saying Ukraine's economy basically going to be cut in half, shrinking by 45%, according to its predictions. They also say Russia likely to slide into recession as it's caught in the vice of those crippling Western sanctions. Those two countries make up a third of global wheat exports. And so this conflict having far-reaching economic ramifications as food prices all over the world, especially in the Middle East, surging because of that disruption to wheat supply. Jeff?
We're going to talk more about food prices a little later this hour. Raph, thank you so much. Now, Ukraine's foreign minister discussed the next phase in his country's war with Russia this week on Meet the Press. And National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan weighed in on how the U.S. can continue to support Ukraine's war effort. Here's a look at the highlights with Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd.
Let me start with yesterday's visit by the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, the symbolic walk through the center of town, the importance of the symbolism, but also what promises were made that you hope are carried out?
I would say it's not only about symbolism, it's also about sending a message of confidence in Ukraine, in Ukrainian leadership, and in the Ukrainian army that is capable of defending the capital. And it's true to say that Ukraine won the battle for Kyiv. Now another battle is coming, the battle for Donbas. And of course, we are preparing to it, working with our partners to get all necessary weapons and basically everything that one needs to win a battle.
Do you think your military alone, with all of this military supplies, can defeat the Russians? Or if you were a member of NATO, you'd be asking for more NATO troops?
If we were a member of NATO, this war wouldn't take place. The strategic mistake that was made in 2008 by Germany and France, who rejected the efforts of the United States and other allies to bring Ukraine in, is something that we are paying for. It's not Germany or France that are paying the costs for this mistake. It's Ukraine.
Are we now going to do what it takes to get them fighter jets, if that's something they need? I know that had been up in the air before. Is that changed?
So the only thing that the United States has expressed reservations about is sending fighter jets from a U.S. airbase in Germany into contested airspace over Ukraine, flying them from point A to point B. If a country in Eastern Europe wants to supply MiG-29s or other forms of Soviet aircraft, we have said that is their sovereign decision. The only thing we have said we would not do is make that transfer from Germany.
Our thanks to Chuck Todd for that recap. The war in Ukraine is creating, of course, a staggering amount of loss and suffering. But even amid tragedy, you can find signs of hope. NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns reports on the brave Ukrainian mothers who are giving birth while fleeing the terrors around them.
If you want to find joy in a hospital, head to the maternity ward, where even in war, there are signs of hope. This is Solomia, just 4 days old.
It was really scary, but it went smoothly.
Scary because her mother, Alina Stepachuk, never expected to give birth in a Warsaw hospital.
When we came here to Poland, I was hoping we will go back to Ukraine before I give birth.
More than 600 Ukrainian babies have been born in Poland since the war began, and Darina Szpak will add another one.
What will be the name? Emma. Emilia. Emilia.
Emilia will be her first child.
I know it's scary, я знаю, что страшно, but are you excited? Are you hopeful? Конечно.
Of course, I'm a mom. I look forward to it and hope it will go well.
And she hopes Emilia's father will see her soon. Right now, he may be far away, but he keeps his phone close.
What's the first thing you will do when you see your wife and new baby again?
I will hug and kiss them.
Dr. Robert Bravura Biskupsi Samaha says nearly every day a Ukrainian baby is born in Warsaw.
What you all do here is you bring life into the world. How important is that now when we're seeing so much death and so much darkness?
The happiness that you get when these women deliver, at least for a couple of minutes, at least a couple of hours, they get the pictures, they send them over to their loved ones back home. I think this is, the counter effect to what's happening there.
Yeah, a little bit of light in the dark.
Yeah,
Alina is seeing that light in her little girl.
What do you see when you look at her?
A new generation of life.
This is happiness, she tells me. This is the essence of our lives. Born into war, her mother hopes she will be our future. The name, Solomia, simply means peace.
Baby named Peace. Our thanks to Dasha Burns for that uplifting report. Let's get a check now on your morning news now. Weather. NBC's Michelle Grossman is with us. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good to see you. And we are tracking another really busy weather week. We were looking at storms even early this morning, and that's what we're going to track today, tomorrow, and also Wednesday. So taking a look at radar, you can see we're fairly active already. We have some lightning, some heavy rainfall, even some severe thunderstorms. And we are looking at that potential throughout all today and into tonight, zooming in a little closer to a storm just east of St. Louis. And here's the threat risk for tonight. Where you see the orange, that's where it's likely. The yellow is possible. 13 million at risk. We could see hail as big as 2 inches, damaging winds over 60 miles per hour, and even some tornadoes. And that will be the story tomorrow, too. Look what happens here. It expands. So we're looking at storms from Texas all the way through Iowa. 39 million at risk, and these are very slow-moving storms. So by Wednesday, not going very far. You notice it's over the same areas, and that's why we're also worried about excessive rainfall, too. I'll show you that in just a minute. But look how this enhanced risk has expanded, including St. Louis, West Plains, Little Rock, Monroe, into Nashville, and we are looking at the chance for tornadoes on Wednesday as well. Here's your rainfall forecast. We're expecting a lot of it, a huge swath from the south all the way to the Ohio Valley. We could see up to 3 inches in some spots, so we will be looking for flash flooding. This is what it looks like. We're looking at area of low pressure. This is a second storm coming onshore, bringing an April snowstorm. So we're looking at feet of snow in the Cascades, also the northern plains, along with really gusty winds gusting over 65 miles per hour. By Tuesday in the northern tier of the nation, blizzard-like conditions, and then watching that severe potential stretching from Iowa to Texas, and that will last into Wednesday. Finally, Joe, quieting down on Friday. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, we know you'll keep an eye on it. Thank you so much. Yeah. The investigation is now underway to figure out what sparked a massive fire at a Home Depot store in California over the weekend. As NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson explains, the fire was so large it was visible from outer space.
From above, a molten fireball erupting into the sky, consuming thousands of square feet. Saturday's Home Depot fire burning for hours, turning the hardware store's contents into kindling, shrouding suburban San Jose into a plume of black smoke seen from 20 miles away. On the ground, panic. The blaze breaking out at around 5:30 Saturday night. About 30 workers and shoppers scrambling to escape.
Vacate the building. We got fire through the roof. We're going to change to a defensive strategy. Let's get all crews out.
The 5-alarm fire so massive, it was spotted from a National Weather Service satellite in space. Raining debris reported from residents 3 miles away. Crews still stabilizing the scene, working to make sure the wreckage is safe for investigators. Fire officials telling NBC News they believe it started in an area where lumber and drywall was being stored.
A commercial building of this size, with this many people inside it when the fire progressed, they want to know why and what happened, for sure.
Next door, a pet hospital forced to evacuate. Employee Sam Arship quickly rounded up 13 dogs in just 2 minutes, packing them into this car.
It all happened so quick. Within about 2 minutes, we had to be out of the building.
In total, 60 animals rescued, and thankfully no one hurt. Man or best friend. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.